Hey guys, it's me Noah here with the CP Gamers, and this time I want to talk about the hype for the Solo movie, the upcoming Star Wars movie. And there's a big issue with this, and the fact is that there's not really any hype. There's not too much negative hype either. It's almost like Star Wars fans are holding their breaths. And I mean, I completely understand this, but I'm just wanting to point out that this is not really anything that we've had in the Star Wars community in the past, and I think it needs to change. So, as you guys probably know, Disney and Star Wars have been releasing little 30-second clips of the Solo movie, which is coming out May 25th, and they're not even making it onto the YouTube trending page anymore. People still, they know about the movie, but it's not nearly as hyped as, say, Avengers was, and the other Star Wars movies have been, like The Last Jedi and Rogue One. So I don't really know why people have stopped the hype train. I think it's because they're finally starting to realize what's been happening to the Star Wars universe, and I'm really upset about it. So I really want to just go over a bunch of the reasons why I think that this is troubling, and I hope how we can fix this. The past few years have been very on and off for Star Wars. We had The Force Awakens come out after Disney purchased Star Wars from Lucasfilms, and ever since then we've had kind of a roller coaster ride with what we can expect and fans being divided and everything like that. Personally, I'm not the hugest fan of the new trilogy of Star Wars with the new characters, but we'll kind of get into that later, I guess. But the real problem is that the writing seems to be lacking, and a lot of people have said it in the past, but the creation of these Star Wars movies seems to be rushed and forced, and there's not as much care going into the movies anymore. This is debatable, but there are several points in favor of this, supporting this idea that there isn't as much thought going into the movies. And if we look at The Last Jedi, it's just a perfect example. You can kind of see what the writers wanted to do. The main focus of that movie was getting Kylo and Rey together. Not romantically, obviously, but getting them together and so they can build their relationship. And that was the focus of the movie. You can literally take out entire chunks of the movie besides that, and you still kind of get the theme of it. Even Luke in that movie wasn't even really used to his full potential. He was there, he was a teacher, but he didn't even come on to Crate at the end. He was kind of not needed, unfortunately, which was really upsetting. And I don't know why Disney is doing this with the main characters from Star Wars. It's almost like they purchased Star Wars from Lucasfilm for a huge amount of money, and then they're not using the assets that they purchased from Star Wars. They just purchased it and they got rid of all the main characters in less than ideal ways. It's literally not even like Star Wars anymore. Obviously, that's my opinion, but I think Luke should have had a bigger role, and things like that are really starting to get under the skin of some of the hardcore fans, and I think even some of the less hardcore fans. I mean, obviously, I'm a hardcore fan. I have a whole channel dedicated to Star Wars on YouTube, but everyone is noticing this. Like, there is not as much development for characters like Rey and Finn. Like, yes, I know that Finn was a stormtrooper. He defected. That's pretty cool, I guess. But once that happened, let's look at The Last Jedi. What did Finn do? He didn't really do anything. He got onto that casino planet, and then he found the master hacker and busted into the Star Destroyer, but nothing happened in the Star Destroyer, and he just left. So, like, that whole plot arc was not needed. If nothing's going to happen on the Star Destroyer with Finn, and nothing's going to happen on the planet down there with Finn, on the casino planet, why did they do that? They could have literally just had some sort of epic sci-fi battle with no plot at all, and it would have been better. Because I don't know what they were thinking there. And then introducing new characters, it's necessary. I understand that you need to introduce more characters to the movie, but they're just not doing a good job with it with some of the new characters. I don't know why they're doing that. And they seem to think that making Rey as super powerful Jedi will kind of make all of us fans really like her, but it's really having the opposite effect. We're not buying it. Like, there's no reason why she should be as powerful as she is. A lot of fans were hoping that Rey would have some cool ancestry, and then the directors of The Last Jedi kind of pulled a fast one and, made us think, oh, Rey doesn't have any sort of special parents. She's just a regular person. Anybody can be a crazy Jedi like that. It's just completely random. And yeah, that may be true, but I mean, why should we like Rey at this point? What does she have for us besides these crazy powers? And she just can't seem to be defeated. I mean, we're not buying it. I'm certainly not buying it. I hope you guys are not going to just blindly accept what the new direction of Star Wars is throwing at you, and you're supposed to question these things. You're supposed to question these things, and the use of the Force is supposed to be this mystical power. And yes, it's still very much a mystery, but you have to explain it a little bit. Like, why is Rey so good with the Force? Why is she seemingly better than Kylo? And yes, you can argue that Kylo is still more skilled than Rey, but in the fight that they had when they were teaming up together, Rey was able to defeat her guards without really any help from Kylo, and Kylo required assistance from Rey when she threw him the lightsaber in order to save him. So you can kind of make the point that Rey was doing a better job there, which is completely ridiculous, honestly, that someone who's been formally trained as a Jedi would lose to someone who is just a scavenger in the desert. This doesn't make any sense. But this wasn't meant to be a Last Jedi rant. Obviously, that movie had a lot of flaws. Like I said, it got rid of the main characters for no apparent reason. It only had one point specifically that it wanted to get Kylo and Rey together and develop them, and literally everything else in the movie was just kind of thrown in there so that it could be a longer film. Like, we did not need to see the rebellion escaping. That didn't really need to happen. You could have easily left that off screen and had something else happening. We just need to kind of know how big the rebellion is, and that was what that entire scene was going up for. Like I said, there's not that many main characters, so it's not like that was a huge plot point that only a few major characters survived. All that stuff didn't really make too much sense. But onto the main point of this video is that the Solo movie is coming out. Honestly, I think that the Solo movie is going to be good, but I'm extremely hesitant to say that. I know that the anthology movies have been good. There's only been one, it's been Rogue One, but that was really good. And I think that those movies are good because they have better character development, and it's not really too much more than just that. It's like, you have to develop the characters, we have to care about them, because if we don't care about the characters, no matter what they do in their story, it's not going to matter. And they have to be realistic characters, and we all know that Han Solo is a very realistic, down-to-earth guy, so I think it's going to be a good movie. I'm a little bit hesitant because I know that some of the movies have been in a downward trend recently, but I think it's salvageable. But I really do want to bring up this discussion because when I say that it's salvageable, that means I am admitting that Star Wars is definitely going on a downhill trend right now. And I think a lot of other people are admitting it. Even the fans who were new to Star Wars when The Force Awakens came out, the new fans, and they were super hyped, a lot of them realized that The Last Jedi was lackluster at best. It didn't have a lot of what we wanted. Like, take Snoke, for example. He was a true kind of like Star Wars-esque character. He was mysterious, he was powerful, not anything crazy, not any sort of power we haven't seen before, but he was powerful, he was some sort of alien species. There was a lot of mystery to him, and then Disney decided, no, we're just gonna kind of get rid of him because you're supposed to care about Kylo and Rey again. And they did a very poor job of developing some sort of love from the audience of those characters from the first movie, and really introducing new characters just to get rid of them and force you back on the old characters was kind of a slap in the face to me and a lot of other fans, I'm sure. Other things, just like being a little bit unrealistic in the Star Wars universe, that is always a problem with sci-fi movies, and we kind of have to get rid of that. There are a few ways to make yourself feel a little bit better about certain scenes in The Last Jedi, but that's a whole separate topic. If you really think about it, I guess it can make sense, like when Leia was sucked out into space, and things like that. There are a few ways to scientifically prove it to yourself that you might be able to survive that, but it does seem a little bit lazy, and it really does seem like these movies are being forced on us because, you know, they bought the Star Wars franchise, they're gonna milk it, and that's fine if you want to milk it, but definitely think about what you're producing, because this is a huge deal to a lot of people. They're not just movies, they're really, it sounds stupid to say, but they're a way of life for a huge amount of people. So care about what you're doing, and don't just give us characters that are cool in the fact that they're so powerful they can't be defeated. We want some sort of realism in the Star Wars universe. You don't have to explain the Force to us, you don't have to explain how everything came to be, but don't go from, say, nothing, which I'm going to use the Rey example again, literally nothing, like she was an orphan abandoned in the desert, to the strongest Jedi in the galaxy. That doesn't make any sense with no training whatsoever. It's upsetting to a hardcore fan, and I'm sure it is to some less hardcore fans. But yeah, So hopefully the Solo movie kind of brings us back to the Star Wars roots and regains some of the hope we have in the Star Wars franchise, because I know it's low right now. A lot of people haven't really said anything good about The Last Jedi. I haven't really heard any sort of positive review from that in a long time. So hopefully the Solo movie is going to be what we want it to be. I know a lot of people are nervous. I'm very nervous because we haven't seen much recently, and maybe that's the reason why Disney is pushing this on us so early in the year. It's because they realize The Last Jedi didn't do too well, and they want to kind of regain some of this trust that they have with their fans, which I think is a good thing because they're at a critical time right now with Star Wars. They spent a ton of money on it. They have been doing a poor job, I'll say, with handling the Star Wars. They've been developing lots of stuff for the movies, and they've really not been developing their characters enough. They've been kind of focusing on other aspects of the movies, which are not as important as characters. Because when it comes down to it, the characters of Star Wars is really what makes everyone enjoy it. I mean, I've talked to a lot of fans, some older fans, older than me, who have kids and stuff, and they say that their kids are not really super into the new characters. They prefer watching, Jabba the Hutt and stuff like that, and Boba Fett. So that kind of confuses me a little bit, because if new fans who are young, I mean, these are young kids, probably less than 10 years old, they're not enjoying the new, Rey and Finn, that era of characters, then who is this developed for? Like, who is Disney creating this timeline for and forcing off? Not only creating that new timeline, because obviously they have to do that because, Star Wars has to move on, but not only creating that, they're forcing off the old characters and the old way of doing Star Wars for seemingly no reason. When a lot of these characters can stay in the Star Wars universe, they don't have to be main characters, but there's absolutely no reason that they can't stay and give us some sort of familiarity. Because looking into Episode 9, what do we have to look forward to? We have literally no main characters left except for Chewbacca and Leia. And Leia's obviously not going to be in it very much, but what is a true Star Wars fan going to look forward to? I don't think that they're going to look forward to the Rey and Kylo conflict that much, because it's kind of boring. Like, what does Kylo have to be mad at Rey for? Luke is gone. He was mad at Luke. Luke is gone. Rey is not really an enemy of Kylo so much, so what do they have to be enemies about? I don't understand. And yes, I guess they could expand on that, but it's a little bit too late to do that. There's only one movie left, so I really don't know what's going to happen. I hope that the anthology movies, since they're kind of on their own, they kind of handle this Star Wars feeling a little bit better by creating some more familiarity with old Star Wars movies and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to sound like an original trilogy fanboy, which I probably am, but even in the prequel trilogy, there were characters that were new that had never been seen before, like, Mace Windu, a bunch of the Jedi and the Jedi Council, like Qui-Gon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, all those other Jedi that people actually developed, they actually developed passion for those characters. They really liked them. Even if they didn't have too much of a crazy backstory or it wasn't explained enough in the movies, they developed a connection to them because of certain things that they did and how they fit in with the movie. I don't know if that kind of connection is being created with this new series, and I think that it easily could be. I just feel like it wasn't being given enough thought when it was being written and developed. I don't think people were thinking about how the characters will influence the greater universe of Star Wars beyond just the movies, and how the fans will interpret them, and everything like that. I really hope that this improves in the next trilogy, but, only time will tell. But, let me know what you guys think. Am I being completely irrational? I don't think so, but, I mean, I'm sure some of you guys will think that, yes, the new trilogy is great. And I did like parts of it. I mean, the battles, they're cool. Some of the vehicles are cool. They looked like Star Wars vehicles, but, they weren't crazy changed or anything. But, I don't know. I like the vehicles. I like the planets. I can't really honestly say that I like too many of the characters. I feel like they're very much overpowered and not kind of realistically human. And that's another thing. We don't have any, cool alien characters, but that's kind of a separate topic. I really just hope that the Solo movie is a step in the right direction, and I understand why there isn't as much hype out right now. So I guess we're just going to keep holding our breath until it comes out, and we'll see what it's like then. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys soon with another video.